Hello, I am Sonia. 45 years ago, on Good Friday, I decided to dedicate my life to God. And I became a practicing Christian, a follower of Jesus Christ. It occurred to me on Good Friday this year, a few days ago, that if I've been a Christian for 45 years, perhaps it would be a good time to start telling people a little bit about all the different wonderful things that have happened to me and have changed my life over the last 45 years. Now, let me assure you, when you hear that someone has been a Christian for 45 years, you might think that they're an absolute saint. And I can assure you, nothing is further from the truth. I am no angel, but God has been wonderful to me. Awesome. Yeah. So, one of the first things I want to share with you is there was a time in my life when I was very uncertain. I was married and my marriage was not happy. I wasn't sure what was wrong with it. We had no tension, seemingly, no financial problems, nothing. But I felt lonely. I felt very lonely and I felt somewhat, um, you know, lost. In any case, I decided to go out and buy myself a Bible, and I happened to stumble upon something I'd never seen before. It was a new, no, 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 a life application Bible. A life application Bible. I'd never seen a life application Bible before. And I was just amazed to see that although you had the entire Bible there in full, underneath, at the bottom of the page, there were notes about every single verse, verses, sort of information telling you how to apply what you've read to your life and to just shine a little bit of light on verses and words and meanings that were difficult to understand for a new Christian or any Christian for that matter. So, you know what? I opened the Bible and it happened to fall on in Genesis where it says, God created man and woman from the dust of the earth, and God breathed the breath of life into the nostrils of these lifeless clay, in inverted commas, people. God blew his breath into lifeless clay and they became living beings. Now, at the bottom of the Bible, it said our value comes from the fact that we have God's breath in us. People, I cannot tell you what impact that explanation had on my life. Even thinking about it now, it changed my life. I wasn't sure whether I was valuable, and I was lost, as I said. But that verse, it said that my value comes from the fact that I've got God's own breath in me. There's a bit of God in me. So much opened up for me with that little explanation. I thought to myself, it's no wonder he sent his son to the cross, because he sent his son to the cross to rescue a little bit of himself, to rescue people that he blew his own breath into, to bring to himself pieces of his own creation that had in him in themselves a little bit of God. It changed my life. It gave me so much comfort, so much energy to know that I had God's breath in me. Years later, I counseled someone who was very close to me who was contemplating suicide. It was a very, very urgent situation, very, very critical, and very scary as well. I'm so sorry. The idea of the things I'm sharing with you today, it just makes me want to cry because sometimes I still feel lost and I have to remind myself that I've got God's breath in me and that I've got value. But in any case, at the time when this dear, dear loved one of mine was saying to me, my family is better off without me. I can't earn. I'm not well. I can't contribute anything. At that time, I was able to say to her, you are valuable because you have a little bit of God in you, God's breath. God's breath gives you value. You don't have to earn the oxygen you breathe on the planet, but you are precious and valuable, even if you are in a coma, unable to contribute anything, even if you've lived a life that does not please God, but you are still breathing. The fact that you still have the breath of God's life in you gives your life value, and He loves you and He wants you alive. You do not have to work to earn the oxygen that you breathe. And something in that conversation helped that gorgeous loved one of mine and that friend of mine. And she's fine today. I'm not saying it's because of those words alone, but in that time, I could genuinely tell her, God loves us because we have the very breath of life that comes from Him in us. Now, what I'm sharing with you today is a truth that I learned as a very, very young Christian, and it has carried me through many, many tough times, and I've been able to share it with other people. And because it's the 45th anniversary of my commitment to Jesus, I think it's time I share it with you. I don't know how you're feeling, but I want you to know that God's very breath is pumping through your body, and that while you are breathing, even if you do nothing else, God loves you. And He sent His Son to rescue you from wherever you are. You don't have to do anything to be loved by Him. All you need to do is just breathe. Yeah. I hope this helps you today. Goodbye.